It is 6:30 on November 24th in the Rockford area boardroom. I would like to call the regular business meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Eric Gordy.
Here.
Jessica Johnson. Here. Chris Morgan.
Here.
Jamie Hillstrom. Here. Beth Fraska.
Here.
Kevin Shadid.
Here. Thank you. All members are present. Dr. Ida Hoover, agenda is in proper order.
It is,
No
Chair.
addition. Thank you very much. I would appreciate a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Hillstrom. There's a first. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. There's a first and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of tonight's agenda signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries unanimously. Public comment, open for public comment. Is there any? No public comment this evening. Now that is closed, and we will move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda is provided for you for your review prior to this meeting. I would appreciate a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Shadeen. There is a first. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Hillstrom. There's a first and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of tonight's consent agenda signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that does carry unanimously. Moving on then to number 5, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Reidelhofer.
Thank you, Chair Gordy. It is with great pleasure, humility, and gratefulness that I begin this report by expressing my thankfulness to our staff, Legion of Volunteers, and especially our residents for showing up and overwhelmingly supporting both levy questions on November 4th. The outcome of the election, we can do that, yep. The outcome of the election demonstrates an unwavering commitment to Rockford area schools. With this commitment, we promise to continue to be excellent stewards of the resources provided to us and to utilize those resources in the manner in which they are intended. Tonight, we're also fortunate to have Rockford High School Principal Paul Menard, as well as Rockford High School Activities Director Dan Pratt with us to share about the wonderful happenings in and around our high school. We're also excited to hear from our fall activity participants, which is always one of my favorite things to do, who've come to share about their involvement in their chosen activities. But before we hear from all of those amazing students and our colleagues, I'd like to share a little bit about what's happening at the elementary and middle school. At Reams, conferences were held on November 3rd and the 6th. Veterans Day program held with all Reams staff and students on the 11th of November. Family Fun Night took place on November 17th and 18th in the gym. Scholastic Book Fair, November 17th through the 21st. Upcoming winter fast testing in both math and reading are going to take place December 1st through the 10th. Reams teachers continue to participate in their weekly common planning time with the new CKLA reading curriculum. Brendan Nyhus, Principal Nyhus, and Kathy Madsen visited recently with every grade level team individually to check in and see how things were going with and if any adjustments of any kind were needed from any of those groups. Students in grades K through 4 attended the first act of the musical Matilda in the high school on the 21st, last Friday. A wonderful way to partner with the high school and connect the arts to their future opportunities in theater. Interviews will be held next week for a new 3rd grade teacher to reduce class size in both 3rd and 4th grade. The current 3rd, 4th grade class reduction teacher moving to 4th grade once a hire has been made. So this is one of those things where we said we were going to reduce class size if we were fortunate to have the levy passed, and we're doing it right away. And so dollars won't be ready for us for a year, but we're not going to wait. We're going to reduce class size, and I'm very proud to say we have some excellent candidates that are ready to be interviewing here in the next week or so. At the middle school, Principal Warzeka and Kathy Madsen are working on an expedited math curriculum review process as we look at resources that align with the state math standards. First quarter is completed. 73.8% of our students have earned above a 3.0 GPA at the middle school. 43% are above 3.67. There's also intentional planning and intervention supports created for the small number of students who are below 2.0. So they're working on both ends of the spectrum there. Significant time has been spent on clarifying their relearning of their new grading practices, so relearning and reassessment, and working with the high school as well as the Department of Learning and Innovation, Kathy Madsen and myself, for clarification on common vocabulary, and grading practice around assessment and relearning. Continue to practice honoring 4 students each week with Student of the Week. October conferences were successful, staff spending 2 hours of their time on student conferences based on achievement and engagement data. They were also able to conference out at Mobile Hope, and we look forward to the conference there again in February. Prior to the conferences in October, we had students complete an engagement reflection and learned that 89% of the students felt they could accurately describe where they were at on the engagement scale if they were asked. And 94% said they are familiar with the scale and ready to use it going forward. We had 2 staff members, Mr. Madsen as well as Principal Roseka, attended the Weaver Lake Magnet event on November 20th, where we'll share with multiple families from outside of our district what our options here are in Rockford. Student councils plan an activity night on December 5th, where they can come and enjoy time together with bingo and other games. And the middle school was featured in the Minnesota DNR School Forest newsletter that highlighted John Latimer's visit to our site. I also want to share something that's really cool. Principal Roseka was recently asked to sit on a panel regarding the January 14th Northwest Suburban Professional Development Engagement Forum, cultivating the whole child and highlighting ways in which we do that here in Rockford. Outside of the schools operationally, our annual fiscal audit is complete. It will be shared in December. In addition to the audit, we will be sharing also the Determining Truth and Taxation report, a preliminary conversation with Rockford CFO Bridget Peterson, as well as with the auditors. Our audit is in good condition, and the district continues to do an outstanding job of accounting and reporting our financial resources. On the HR side, I'm pleased to share that the district and Representative Education Minnesota Rockford have come to a tentative agreement that will be provided to the board for approval this evening. The agreement, which encompasses both this school year and next, is one that we are very excited to come to at this early stage of the school year. I'd like to express my thanks to the negotiators from the district as well as EMR negotiations team for what was a professional, cordial, and transparent process. Another operational note of importance is that we have scheduled our annual meeting with local dignitaries, which will include mayors, city managers, and our legislative representatives. This roundtable, as we described, will take place on Monday, January 5th, after our board's annual organizational meeting. Instructionally, our teaching faculty recently engaged in the November Professional Development Day, and I continue to be impressed with the engagement and commitment to continuous improvement that is going on throughout our entire system. Learning and Innovation Specialist Kathy Matson is here this evening. She's going to share some pertinent information regarding that PD work and also provide some additional insight into our overall work in the area of instruction. As a district, we also recently completed and submitted 2 statutorily required documents to MDE. One is our annual Achievement Integration Report, as well as our Comprehensive Achievement and Civic Readiness Report, which I'll talk about tonight. Both of these have been posted on our district website for a number of weeks. In addition, I'll be sharing that again, like I mentioned, with the board tonight. As a district, we met recently with our ADSIS team, and as our practice every fall, Kathy Madsen and I attended, presented, and engaged in conversations regarding instruction with each of our 3 school sites with the purpose of maintaining alignment and support throughout the system. As is my general practice, I attended meetings recently with our friends and colleagues at MREA, Northwest Suburban, AMSD, and MASECO. I also participated with my MSA colleagues in professional development committee planning work, as well as putting the finishing touches just actually last Friday on the 2026 legislative platform. I also worked with a statewide group of superintendents to discuss proactively preparing for work on federal education advocacy. That was also a very insightful meeting. And then I was at AMSD learning and sharing ideas with the annual AMSD Brightworks Instructional Conference. I also had a really fun opportunity to meet with all of our senior citizens at the RCC that were there for over a couple of days, as well as 4 different groups of our ECFE families. It was just fun to sit and talk to the families and ask them, what sorts of things can we do to enhance their experience, and what are some things we're doing that you feel are going really well. Outstanding meetings with those groups, and I'm thankful to Melissa and Tiffany for setting those up for me. Again, very, very fun meetings with that group. I also attended this early signing event for 2 of our talented Rockford softball players, as well as the Leo Awards banquet to celebrate our awards recipients. Excuse me. Last but certainly not least, I attended the Rockford Education Foundation event this past Saturday night, and that was incredible. I still like the video I have of Mr. Shadeen in his wonderful costume, which by the way is posted online. In closing, it is appropriate that we are meeting so close to the Thanksgiving holiday, as Rockford Area Schools has so much to be thankful for. This includes our staff, our students, our school-age families, and the greater community who, without question, affirm their belief in the work we are doing. As I close the report, I once again want to say thank you to each and every resident for the support of our levies on November 4th. That concludes a very long November superintendent report.
Thank you very much. Very busy, Dr. Ida Hoover. Any questions for Dr. Ida Hoover? Thank you very much for your report. Appreciate all the things that you're doing for our district and our community. Moving along, then, we will go to the Community Ed Rocket Spotlight, and I believe Melissa Josephs is in the crowd.
Yes.
Come on up.
Trifecta, my third time. doing
I
this.
know. We didn't even put you at the end of the agenda.
I know. So I have the pleasure of introducing the Rocket Spotlight Award again, and since it is Thanksgiving week, I feel very thankful to be presenting this to Tiffany Reinhardt. Not only is she the best early learning supervisor around, she is also a very good friend of mine, so this is super special to me. Just so everyone knows, she's just not like early learning supervisor means she's in charge of screening, early childhood family education, and our launching pad preschool. So she has a very big role. But because of this, I also wanted to bring Miss Jessica Cook here because she, to talk about why she nominated Tiffany for this award as well. So rather than me just talking about it, I asked Jessica to come tonight.
I thought we'd get another voice. And I wrote my notes. I nominated Tiffany for the Rocket Spotlight Award because in addition to her role as the early childhood program supervisor, she also stepped in as a preschool teacher for the first 2 months of the school year, which was a tremendous undertaking and definitely deserves recognition. From my perspective, Tiffany carried both roles with grace, warmth, and remarkable excellence, and a lot of really fast walking from room to room and through the hallways. Whenever I walked into the classroom, I saw kids that were happy and engaged in learning with Tiffany right alongside them. So just really immersed in her preschool teaching experience. And then when I walked into her office, she always welcomed me with an open door, a smile, ready to problem solve, listen, and support me in my role as the parent educator for the ECFE programs. Having previously been in a role similar to Tiffany's, I can only imagine how exhausting this period must have been. I recently read a book titled How to Not Lose Your Insert Four-Letter Word with Your Kids, and I'm convinced Tiffany has mastered the version titled How to Not Lose Your Insert Four-Letter Word with your colleagues, employees, parents, and kids. And she's absolutely nailed it. Thank you, Tiffany, for the extraordinary dedication, steadiness, and heart you bring to our early childhood programs.
So yes, ditto all that. I mean, Tiffany, she puts kids first. Number one thing. Our preschool and our early childhood kids, they love learning, and it's because of what she puts in place for her teachers and everything like that. I mean, we by far have the best preschool and early childhood family education programs around here. And that's also because of her too. So, but Tiffany oversees all of it, and she is just absolutely amazing. So without further ado, I'd like to present you with the Rocket Spotlight.
That's it, we get a picture. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you for everything that you do for our district. Thank you for putting her up for it and presenting. We'll continue to move on. Mr. Pratt, fall activity celebration.
Is this a new style we get to stand and talk?
Yep.
I like that.
You can do whatever you want.
All right. I want to introduce the kids from the fall a musical and athletics. We're just under 300 kids involved in athletics and activities this fall. We've had two groups that were not able to make it today. One was the cheerleading, they're actually having their banquet tonight. So we'll get them in the winter, so they have a 2-season deal. And the other is boys soccer, both the captains were busy. I'll just quickly talk about boys soccer. First year back to a varsity schedule. They did a great job, very young but very competitive. And the Wright County Conference was very good to us as far as, you know, you're playing some pretty strong teams. Southwest Christian with the state, Holy Family, Delano, and they're really good about kind of pulling off the dogs when the game was pretty much over. So, but otherwise we had very competitive games. They did a really nice job. They're going to be really good in the future, very young. And our coach, who was deployed for a year, is going to be back this next year. He called a couple weeks ago. He's very excited to get going again. So we're excited for that. So with that, I will have them introduce themselves and talk about their season a little bit. You don't got to talk long, but you can if you want. And when we get done, make sure you sign. I got you, so I'll mark it out. Came in late. No, we won't tell anybody. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm Olivia Kistner. I'm Bailey Anderson. I'm Autumn Mance. Okay, tennis team. Yeah. This year was the very first year that Rockford had a varsity girls tennis team and just varsity tennis team in general. And so we were seeing a lot more of a competitive level, and I think we did pretty good at adjusting from going from a JV level to varsity, especially since we're not a huge program.
And a lot of our team is with the lower classmen and even a middle schooler for varsity, so we figured out.
We ended the season with a 500 record and played some harder teams that we're not used to seeing in the past years, like
Holy Family.
Yeah, some private schools, Columbia Heights, and we also competed in sections against LeSueur Henderson, and we didn't get the outcome we wanted, but it was still good, very good experience for us to have, I think. And we went to individuals at Gustavus which was also a really fun experience to have. That was also new because we were varsity team this year.
I think we really accomplished a lot this year, and we proved ourselves. It was kind of tough having such a wide skill level on the team, but I think we really pulled through it and showed that we can do it and that we can compete on a varsity level.
Alright, I'm Ashley, I'm a senior in volleyball. I'm Anna, I'm also a senior in volleyball. This year, we truly experienced tremendous growth. I mean, each and every one of us, no matter what our role was, whether it was cheering our teammates on, pushing each other in practice, or just being a skillful player on the court, we all grew so much throughout the season, and it was really fun to see each and every one of us progress as volleyball players and people in general. And even though we didn't make it as far as we wanted to in sections, that was a season that I will never forget, and it's something that I will certainly look back on in my future years. So.
Yeah, some of our highlights from this season were senior night, where we celebrated our 9 seniors that we had on varsity, Big Pink Night, where we raised money for cancer research, and another really cool thing this year is that we won our first sections game, which we have not done since we were the freshman class. So we really overall had a great season, a lot of growth from last year, and it was fun to come together. This group has been playing together since we were little 3rd grade volleyball players, not knowing anything. So it was really just a full circle moment to end our volleyball careers together.
Okay, my name is Maggie. I'm also a senior. Riley, also a senior. We're talking about the musical. So I did backstage this year. This is my first year. I think that the whole program is just a very welcoming, exciting environment. It's very
I don't know. It's very like widespread. It's through the middle school and the high school. This year we did Matilda. We had a very packed night every single night this year. It was super exciting. It was a lot more complicated than some previous years. So it was super exciting to try new things. We had a lot of people backstage. In the pit was full with 20 students. And then we had a huge cast. We had a total of 17 seniors throughout the stage, crew, cast, and pit. So that was really exciting and also kind of sad knowing that there's so many leaving, but there were so many new people that are so good and we're super excited to see take up those roles that we're leaving behind. What else?
The music this year was super hard, learning all the scripts. There's a bunch of magic tricks, if you guys ever watched Matilda. And we had to figure out how to get those done. Lots of costume changes. Yeah. We had middle schoolers have lead roles this year, which we haven't had in the past. And they did great.
They did really good. Say it.
I'm Marla Hall on the cheer team, so we got cheer.
Oh, I'm Riley on the cheer team as well.
This year we had 16 girls, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 16 girls, which was really amazing because we had about 9 seniors. So getting a bunch of new girls, mainly middle school, was just amazing because now we know that we kind of have a future and continuing with cheer. With having more, we did a lot more stunting, working on a lot more skills. We were able to have people who have worked with competition cheer come in and teach us. We did tumbling practices and everything. We had many girls participate in the St. Thomas cheer clinic, which was kind of like an all-day thing. They got to stunt with college girls at St. Thomas. We also had 4 girls try out for the MCCA All-State Side cheer team. 3 of those girls made it, and it was out of 18 spots, which also is the most Rockford cheerleaders who have made the All-State team. Let's see, we performed at homecoming, at halftime, and we also did a bunch of crash posters for every home game this season.
I didn't have the crash posters. We did one for every single game, and each one takes about 4 hours to make. We have to make the design, and then every single one's different. And then we have to paint it and sculpt it.
I'm Livy, I'm a junior and I do soccer.
I'm Cora, I'm a freshman, and I've played soccer since 7th grade.
I think our season was very successful because we've had the most wins since 2017, so that was good.
We also had the most goals scored since 2017 as well.
And then we had a full roster, so we had a lot of new middle schoolers come out for the team, and so that just allowed for a lot of subs, which we haven't had. I feel like we've had a lot of like rushing in the past few years. But
We've had many academic awards given out, and we had 2 all-conference awards. Riley Freed made the all-state team, which we haven't had happen in a long time.
and then we got a new JV coach, and he was very like effective, and everybody liked him, and so I just think overall it was a good season.
Thank you.
Alright, my name is Bill Check. I am on the cross-country team. I am a junior, and I started cross-country when I was a freshman. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the overall team. 28 student athletes and managers, including 2 senior boys and 11 community education 6th grade participants. We hosted the 52nd annual Rocket Run Invitational at Shamrock Golf Course with 15 teams participating from around the state. And now I'm going to talk about the girls' season recap. The girls' gold medal status is top 5 cumulative GPA average of grades 10 through 12 participants on the roster with a 3.936, that seems precise, unweighted GPAs. 5 all-conference academic award winners, 4 all-conference honorable mention, Maya, Maggie, Historic, and Icon Mendenhall. 4th place at conference meet. Ninth top four finish in the last 11 years, 6th place at in the section 6AA meet, and 11th straight top 10 finish.
My name is Maggie Steelar. I am a 9th grader and I've been doing cross country for 2 years. Boys cross country had a great year in the classroom and on the course. One highlight of their academic work in the classroom was earning gold status because of their cumulative GPA of 3.26. On the other hand, they conquered the course by achieving 4 team wins, including their back-to-back conference titles. Their 2025 conference winning team had 4 all-conference winners and 3 honorable mentions, which ties the school record for all 7 runners receiving conference honors. In connection to school record, Will Check broke his own 5K school record not once but twice this season. Will also qualified individually for the 2025 state meet where he placed 15th, earning all state honors and tied the school record for the highest finish at state. In addition, Connor Ellis and Wilczek earned high school All-American honors by having their 5K times under 16 minutes and 15 seconds. In similarity, Colton Ellis and Miko Boheman earned middle school All-American honors by having their 5K times faster than 18 minutes. Overall, it was an outstanding season that set new standards both academically and athletically.
I'm Sean. I'm Bradley.
I'm Gabe.
I'm Charlie. So football this year, we started off kind of rough, getting into the season. We were a young team. We're getting used to our chemistry together. And we started off the season, we ended the season 1-8. We had 2 first team district athletes. We had 6 honors academic award winners, and we had 2 second all district players.
Season didn't go the way we wanted it to, but as you said, there was only 4 starters that were full-time coming back, so it's hard to have a successful team. And for the most part, if you watch the games, a lot of them we gave what we could. Should have been closer, but it is what it is.
I think it was a very memorable season, but we got put into a hard conference playing many teams that went far into playoffs and even playing the state champions. But I think we learned a lot, and it was hard work, and I had fun, and it was very memorable.
Yeah. So we played a lot in the harder schedule this year. I mean, we're really close to a lot of teams like Annandale. We were 7-14 at half, and they won state for 3A. And as we were talking about, we were really tight with a lot of teams. And I think we could have been there or won a lot more of those games if overall the program would just push further and like efficiency and coaching and practice. With other sports, we have athletes, good athletes and bad athletes. We still come out and have a good season. But this year we had a lot of good athletes but didn't have some experience. We kind of just didn't come out on top of a lot of those games that we could have.
My name is Max Thornton. I'm with the band. Some of the highlights of the summer fall band season were the summer marching band. We had over 60 students participate this summer. Our summer marching band consists of 3 parades, including the Minnesota State Fair.
Our homecoming performance featured 13 flag members and also was conducted by drum majors Levi Crochells and Max Thornton.
For our fall concert, it included all members of the band, program grades 9 through 12, the flag team, led by me and Riley. We prepared 8 routines for our performance. Our wind ensemble drumline was also featured. And then
the Gustavus Honor Band. 8 students from the band performed at the Gustavus Honor Band on Monday, November 3rd. And this band includes musicians from the Upper Midwest. That's it.
I just have to say this is so Rockford, and I absolutely love that you went from over here in athletics to over here and talked about, band and fine arts and so forth. So just goes to show you can do anything and be everything here in Rockford. And so I just thought that was something I wanted to point out. That's so cool.
Well, I want to thank the kids for coming out and doing this. I know it's not always, well, we're going to get a picture on the steps before you go. I believe it's true, Will, you tied your coaches for the highest finish at the state, is that correct? At 15?
It was some random guy.
Some random guy?
I'm like,
Only a junior, so you can beat him next year, right? Yeah, so that's pretty exciting. And I agree with the football, what they're talking about. I was at all the home games. The team was 1-8, could easily have been, 5-3. I mean, it was just kind of one of those years where things didn't go their way. They had a team down and it just didn't work, 4th and 15, and they got a first. They went down and won the game. It happens. But what I like is these guys they're always here, they're always happy. They know, the volleyball team, didn't have a great year. They ended great, but they had a great experience. And that's, I think, was the most important thing. And I appreciate every one of you guys coming out and talking and letting the board know about your experience, because that's what's most important here in this district is you guys. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys very much. Appreciate it. And appreciate you guys being student athletes. That's a huge thing. I mean, student first, athlete second, or activity. So thank you for participating, representing, and you'll forget about the wins and losses, but your seasons and your activities, that's all you remember. Just saying. So thank you, Mr. Pratt, for being their leader. All right, moving on. That was awesome. Mr. Menard, you have to follow that up. Just saying.
Yeah.
Student athlete. So we'll go to the principal's report. Mr. Menard, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, and good evening, school board and community members. You've heard my updates from Dr. Redelhoover, but I am thrilled to join you tonight for the first time this school year to talk about all the exciting things going on at Rockford High School. Here's some general updates. We continue to model 90-day plans. This is something that I learned from my AVID leadership training. AVID is a program we run at the high school. And they talk a lot about kind of the dangers of long-range planning, especially in a school where unpredictable is the norm. And so they really try to focus on shorter, more focused goals. And so that's what we continue to craft our meeting schedule around and professional development at the high school, which you'll hear later from Mrs. Mason as well. So this first quarter, as it wrapped up, we talked about relational capacity as it relates to you're starting the school year out. How are you as a teacher going to create a safe and welcoming atmosphere where your students feel like they can contribute and engage in a meaningful way? I'll show you some slides on that in a little bit. Quarter two, we're opening up right after Thanksgiving break, studying metacognition. This is something I've wanted to drill down on since we changed our master schedule to more of a modified block. And this is that concept of how we know what we know and how we understand how we learn. I think it's super important as students move from that direct instruction that the teacher provides to, I've got a pile of homework in front of me, what do I do with it? That they can manage their learning and or ask questions about it in an intelligent way so the teacher can service them most effectively. So that's what we're going to drill down in this quarter. Quarter three, we're going to talk about the definition of rigor at Rockford High School and how incorporating meaningful inquiry can get you more rigorous results. And so I'm excited for that as well. And then quarter four is leadership development in our students. So how can we become self-advocates and move to the top of whatever our expectations are as we leave high school. We began our year again, this time for a second year in a row, talking about focused note-taking for formative feedback. And our teachers, some of our teachers on our AVID site team trained our teachers and students during workshop week in that first day of school. So when you're engaged in that direct instruction teacher, how are you navigating through how you'd like students to take notes? And then the students then learn that when they came during those first critical days of the school year. We'll talk a little bit more at this meeting about engagement reflections, both on the part of our teachers and students. And our student connected this questionnaire occurred where we measured how well the students feel connected to the school community. Intervention work at Tier 1 and 2 is off to a great start, and our AVID work helps to inform that in our Gen Ed classrooms as well. Some of the events that have already been mentioned, and some that have not. Over 60 of our students attended the Ignite Your Future conference in Hutchinson, Minnesota, kind of a hands-on career prep learning situation going on up there in Hutchinson every year. And every year our kids go, they're super excited about it and energized when they come back about different career fields. We had our 4th annual career fair with over 60 vendors at Rockford High School in the month of October. Our student council placed first at a competition in the Eastern Minnesota Conference, and our fall musical, Matilda, ran this past weekend. So here is some information about goal setting, and every year, when we set up our goals, I think of it kind of in 2 different buckets. So this is, with the help of Mrs. Mattson, we created sort of a one-pager, we'll call it, of all of the different goals that the high school is going to try to accomplish. The top 3, in green there, are goals that, in cooperation with our Building Instruction Leadership Team and myself and the Learning and Innovation Department, we set those 3 goals based on the 3 pieces to our instructional roadmap. So the non-negotiable is we had to say we're going to do something with regard to instructional design, classroom engagement, and data-backed student support. You'll hear about those toward the tail end of my presentation. First, I want to take you through the bottom 5, the multicolored boxes there are my goals, and they're intentionally underneath the Rockford High School teacher goals, and all of the efforts in those strategic directions aim to support the work of the teacher. A lot of times in our planning and even our delivery of our fall workshops, we were very cognizant of, if we're asking you to support the student, how are we supporting the teacher? And so these goals kind of illustrate, I'm supporting teachers, or my team is supporting teachers in this way, and we're hopeful that that trickles down to the student with the instructional roadmap goals. So here's my first goal. It's actually a common goal among the 3 principals. We've never had a common goal before, so I'm really excited to see how this plays out. We will develop common language surrounding domain 3 of our teacher evaluation tool, which is the Charlotte Danielson model for effective teaching. And that will be complete with look-fors as they relate to quality instruction. Every time I have a post-evaluation with a teacher, I feel like I have to explain my interpretation of the evaluation tool before I go through the results. This will help us do that without me having to say it. You'll learn a little bit about that second goal related to fast testing later on from me, and then a little bit more from Learning and Innovation. Here's the progress so far. We've had our Read Plus and Math Plus rosters adjusted. Our teachers are partnering during Rocket Block to deliver interventions. Our students in the English classes reflected on their fall FAST scores, their interventions, and successful plans or adjustments and creation of a summer plan. All of this means we had our English teachers walk through the reading and math tests that students took to describe what do the risk levels mean, where they ought to see themselves. They had them compare their fall scores with their current scores in their classes to see, is there a corollary there? They asked students to reflect on how much time did you spend on these tests? How accurate is it a reflection of your performance level? And those conversations really do go well. Students are really interested to learn more in the hopes that they're more invested down the road when they take the test, so that they know this really matters to me and it matters to the school because they're trying to support me in that. Comprehensive interventions as Tier 1 student support has further evolved, and you'll hear about that goal in a little bit. And we have classroom building and targeted engagement checks. Again, you'll hear more on this. Our student achievement plans have been implemented. Currently, there are 3 at Rockford High School, and there'll be more achievement checks to come, both at a building level and individual classroom level. Both of those expectations have been set. So up next time I come to you in March, you'll hear more about targeted goal setting for students, reinforcing the importance of FAST. Our winter testing will occur in late January for FAST, and then quarterly meetings with my colleagues to discuss the language and look-fors in that evaluation tool under the domain of instruction. In healthy and supportive environment, We are attempting to sustain high staff morale, therefore we're implementing strategies to recognize staff and offer support for instructional alignment through our guiding document, which is an AVID book entitled AVID Critical Thinking and Engagement, a School-Wide Approach. You're going to see some slides from our initial work on their self-assessment of their ability to create relational capacity in their classroom. And we did that. These are those 4 quarterly focus areas, and they are different sections of the book. So we just completed the 4 stages of quarter 1, relational capacity. The first stage is safe shaping, so students feel safe in the class physically. Controlled chaos, which is one of my favorites. That is where you do introduce conflict or differences of opinion in a very controlled way. Scope and sovereignty is where students actually start taking control of discussions, and then group actualization is kind of that max level of relational capacity. That's kind of, you know, where you've heard the classroom feels like a tribe or a family. And as I told our teachers, I don't expect all 6 of your courses that you teach to reach group actualization by Thanksgiving, but pushing that mixture of students in that particular classroom at that particular time to be as connected as possible is the underlying goal for that work. Up next, again, we're looking at metacognition, rigor through inquiry, and leadership development. So here's some initial data. This is from August. Our teachers believe they create a welcoming classroom environment full of energy and excitement. For the most part, you see there about 88% on a 4 or 5 out of a 5-point scale. Building a culture of safety, honesty, and mutual trust. That's about 80%. And so you can see that some aren't as comfortable building that culture of safety, honesty, mutual trust. And that's where I start talking to teachers about sometimes it's an interpersonal thing, right? I'm more comfortable teaching you the content than I am shaping this environment. And that's where we can introduce some of the coaching that we do, both through our PLC peer observations and my evaluations. Engaging students in creating and monitoring high expectations and norms for the classroom. That's at about 72%, so a little bit lower than the others. So do students safely and positively manage conflict? Do students feel safe to volunteer novel ideas and solutions? We talked about this one a little bit and how it kind of reflects society. How can we expect our students to manage conflict when we can't demonstrate management on an adult level? And so that is something that we're going to look into. How can we insert this for students so that we can teach them those valuable skills at a young age? Explain how student differences benefit the classroom. I had to pause on this one. This was our lowest score. We've got about 56 sitting at a 4 or a 5 out of 5. And this is more of an articulation issue of, I want my students to feel comfortable, I want them to feel safe, but I'm not quite sure how the differences among them help to enhance the classroom discussions and the group work and things of that nature. And it can be hard depending on what stage of relational capacity you're at. And so it all goes hand in hand with the more, I don't want to use the term vulnerable, but the more open everybody in the class is, the more you're likely to realize how student differences benefit the classroom community. Under the strategic direction of community, school, and family partnerships, to amplify the work within our classrooms to the broader community, we will celebrate innovation via social media and streamline our newsletter articles to highlight each department. So first I want to talk a little bit about our goals. We have a goal to have weekly posts on social media, be it our Facebook or Instagram district page. We've been working intentionally on having silly little videos where we ask students random questions so that we get more student presence online, with their permission, of course, but also showing them a little bit of that culture piece at Rockford High School, which I think is operating on a very high level, and I want to celebrate that, because that isn't necessarily the case at every high school in Minnesota. With our Bolt, some members of our Bolt and my secretary met, and we have kind of a new formula for submitting newsletter articles. It used to be we'd send a staff email out, does anybody have anything interesting going on in their classrooms? And they're so humble, they never think what they're doing is interesting. And so we have to chase somebody down last minute to deliver a newsletter article. Now we have a department rotation where everybody in the department has to write at least one article, hoping two things. We get a variety of voices and a variety of things that are going on in classrooms that are really, really, really exciting. We have new tour packets for prospective families, and Launch Your Future materials will be approved for purchase and printing tomorrow. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a future goal. Website updates and announcements synced with the monthly newsletter, so that what I hear going on in the newsletter and on the website is the same information, so that it's easy for families to find it in whatever delivery system they find most convenient. So here's the progress. Hundreds of views, likes, and comments on our posts, a better connection with our surrounding community, and we're able to highlight stories that help educate people about the IB diploma and career program. I'll continue to say, the most challenging thing about IB is how to explain it. And so the more we can find stories about students that are participating, the more beneficial that will be. Up next, more pictures, attempting more athletic exposure and featuring teachers and departments who have not yet been highlighted, showcasing that variety of experiences that I talked about. For the culture of collective purpose, school leaders will develop materials and promote our new school tagline, engage in learning, ignite curiosity, and launch your future, and package our early college and career options as we brand and market Launch Your Future. So, I spoke about this a little bit at the Ed Foundation dinner, but part of our IB career program requires us to have at least one career pathway. So we started in 2021 with a business pathway that was kind of a pathway in name only, and we talked about business, and it was sort of insular. By 23-24, we had 4 pathways. Most of them were kind of in our ag ed department because it lent itself well to career prep and certification and so forth. And that's when we began our Minnesota-based STEM grant. So that's for AP or IB schools looking to enhance STEM offerings in their school. And with that grant and the work of some incredible colleagues, we have gone from 6 pathways to now exploring 15 by the end of this school year. And we've done some shoulder tapping with 6 other teachers, and we would like to have 21 career pathways for our students by next fall. And the stretch goal 5 years ago, when we were still applying for IB, was that we wanted every student to have the opportunity to earn college credit or career certification before they get their Rockford High School diploma. And we are very close to getting there. With our IB coordinator and 9th grade counselor, they met with every 9th grader prior to registration to discuss what the pathways are and how using the Infinite Campus Academic Planner will help them illustrate what their 4-year plan ought to be in order to say, well, this is how I'm going to get to my next step, and I'm really confident, and I have a leg up on all the other people that are applying for the job that I want. We've also clustered those opportunities. In my mind, it was actually a very scary proposition to say we have 21 pathways, and it's kind of like popcorn, and then you go pick your pathway, and we'll see if you made it at the end. No. We used the Department of Labor and the Department of Education came together years ago to create 6 different career clusters, and we used that to kind of delineate our different pathways. So within those 6 clusters, you have 21 opportunities. I also want to say about the pathways, it's not a long, grueling path, right? We're not going through like the Black Forest. This is a pathway where a student has a cluster of 3 courses at most, where it's getting them associated with the vocabulary of the industry, that particular career avenue, and then also then moving them towards a certification or college credit. And so, by design, they're short pathways, because I wouldn't expect a 9th grader who we just talked to be really committed to our equine studies pathway. It allows them to kind of bob and weave through different pathways and maybe earn a couple of them, right? So the materials have been created, the narratives are being strengthened to say these are your opportunities at Rockford High School, in the hopes that our students feel better supported and better prepared as they move towards college and career. Up next, we're entertaining cluster supervisors. So as we grow this program, we can't necessarily count on one person to track IB exams, career certifications, getting kids registered, chasing them down when they forget to register, tracking all of the testing and the data. So it's my idea, and we haven't really put this together formally, but a group of 6 of us would become cluster supervisors. So The Health and Human Services cluster may be headed up by me, so I'm in charge of all the CNA students and the education, pre-education students, and so forth. We're going to explore additional certifications, actually. Our target date to renew that STEM grant, we have to apply for it again. We want to apply on Monday for that, so we're finalizing that application. And then it's renewable every 3 years, again, for $75,000, and it helps to support primarily our CP program and those related to STEM. Stewardship of resources. Our school budget lines will be reviewed monthly, front office meetings will be held weekly, and we're staffing with intentionality later this year. That will take place after student registration, and our BOLT, Building Operations Leadership Team, will advise on systems and structures to optimize operations monthly. So currently, we run budget reports monthly, we're spending down grants and gifts first, and then we're monitoring supply line budgets. And so already, for example, we've had teachers come in, and they want to, or their students rather, want to do this experiment in biology, or they want to do this part of some sort of art project, but we don't have the materials. So we've been using some money from our very helpful friends at the Ed Foundation, as well as some other gifts that have come from the community, so that we can preserve our district budgets as much as possible. So the progress, our BOLT confirms major ordering, our budgets are communicated with department leads, and additional funding requests must come through me and be approved. Up next, we're going to continue monitoring those lines with balances lower than last year at this time. We're going to question purchases as needed. Is it a curricular need, a classroom need, or a want? And then, of course, registration's coming up here. We've actually rebranded our curriculum fair, it used to be called, as Launch Your Future Night. So we're inviting magnet families from around all areas to come check out what's going on at Rockford High School, because we think it's pretty special. Now, all that's related to what we're asking our teachers to do in order to support students. So this is our actual school improvement plan, and I present it to you on behalf of my build team. In the area of instructional design, teachers will have formative and summative tools for each unit they teach, which demonstrate instructional alignment, comply with our assessment policy, and are reflected accurately and consistently in teacher gradebooks at 6-week checks throughout the year. You'll see why that 6-week check is really important when I go on to, I think it's our next goal, about engagement. All of this will help us prepare our self-study for our International Baccalaureate reauthorization. This self-study, I think publicly I'll say it's due in June. I think it's later in the summer. But we're going to try to wrap it up in June of 2026. And all of this work needs to be done as a part of that in order to have a successful reauthorization visit in the late winter, I'll call it, of 2027 is when IB representatives will actually come to our area. I believe it's a 2.5-day review of absolutely everything. And they'll come in and look at our documentation, our IB policies, what we have to say about AI. And then in the middle years, which is our 9th and 10th grade, what are our unit plans? And then in our 11th and 12th grade, our DP course outlines. We'll also share with them our CP pathway articulation, which I said has been named Launch Your Future. In the area of classroom engagement, teachers will integrate the engagement continuum to inform instruction, assessment, student progress, and ultimately positively impact student achievement. All teachers will discuss and survey student achievement at the end of each unit at a minimum. General engagement data will be gathered monthly across the entire building. So we're measuring 2 things, kind of at that local site. How do I believe I'm doing in your class, teacher, at the end of every unit at least? Some of them do it at the end of every week. Some of them do it as an exit ticket every day. I left it up to the individual teacher. Then the overlying umbrella over that is myself and the guidance counselors send out a much shorter engagement survey to the whole school monthly. So we're tracking it kind of in 2 different ways. I like the idea that the teacher gets to kind of dive down and have a lot more detail that guides them. We tried to do that at a building level. The survey was too long, and I don't think adults would even take it, let alone high school kids. So you'll see a little bit of that data right here. This is from October, and this is where they think they are on that continuum. If I go back to it, kind of hard to read the words, but from left to right, you're more engaged. So you're disrupting, avoiding, withdrawing, participating, investing, and exploring. those colors are met right here. So if you start with the blue, those are the kids that feel like they're most engaged and actually probably playing a really active role in the classroom. This is from required courses again in October. And if you're looking at those top 2 levels, which I kind of like looking at in a 5 or 6 point Likert scale, you're looking at about 46%. So almost half of our students find themselves even more engaged than just an active participant. This is where they said they were in required classes in November. So a month later, let's take a look at this back and forth. Look at the blue. We've lost 1% of students, but we've gained them in investing. So it's a bit of a slide back in November. And I can tell you that might be related to 2 things. The activities competition schedule ramps up and midterms. And so I think we had students kind of evaluating their engagement, and maybe that paid off in their midterm grades, maybe it didn't. Maybe they learned that they need to be more engaged, but they're not yet. And so we're gonna continue to find some causation there as we go through the months. I'm interested to see how, like a December, January wind up here when we move forward. We asked the same questions, again, this is straight from the school-wide survey. We asked the same questions about elective classes. And generally speaking, universally, they're more engaged in their electives. So we went from about 42% of the top 2 levels of engagement to over 50% in October, and then this is November. And again, you saw a bit of a slide from that blue area, and they went over to purple, investing. And so I expected the elective classes to be a higher level of engagement because by and large, students are choosing to be in those classes. And also, it's a little bit less of an academic haul that you're taking in those elective courses, really just studying skill and your interests. Another question we asked is, how often do you think your teachers are talking about engagement? We told them to measure engagement at the end of every unit, but if they're not talking to you about it or describing what they want those words to mean, much like I talked about describing the instructional domain of the teacher evaluation, how do we know? And so this is, my teachers have talked about engagement in my cores and my electives, and interestingly enough, the cores are a little bit higher, probably because every time we talked about engagement in August and early fall, we had them meeting in the core groups, not the grade level groups. And so our departments were meeting and talking about engagement and how they were going to structure their feedback loop with students. And our elective teachers were sometimes left to their own devices because we only have 1 teacher in a department, or they were working on other things for their elective classes. That number of teachers who talk about engagement went up universally in the November survey, probably because as we moved throughout the fall and we started and we got a good footing, that's when I said, okay, teachers, you need to start measuring engagement on a pretty consistent timeline here, which is why I said at the end of a unit. And so there's teachers who now have kind of set their schedule to it, and they're asking about engagement more regularly. This is one of my coolest slides that you can't read. Last year, and even the year before, when we talked about student intervention, we talked about our academic achievement plans, something was missing. And it created a disconnect between where the teacher thought the student was in the class and what the student's barrier for success was. We didn't have a space where we were talking about that or comparing that. Now we do. So, hiding student identity, this is an actual report of students who had Fs in their courses after 3 and 6 weeks. And we divided that list of students, no, wait, we didn't divide them yet. We asked the teachers to guess what the root cause is. Based upon your professional observation at the end of 3 and 6 weeks, what do you think they're struggling with? And some of it's assignment completion, some of it's struggling with the content, a lot of it is attendance. And then we asked teachers, okay, again, based upon your professional observation, where do you think they are in the engagement level? And those that marked, I call it the gray area or the gray scale, either disengaged or disruptive or withdrawing, I asked them to rate, and this is another Avid activity, is it something that you, the teacher, have 100% control over? Is it something that you think you have no control over? Or is it something, yeah, I hadn't thought about that, maybe I can influence that or push that student a little bit so that they engage more. The teacher also then had an opportunity to just make their own comments. What's going on with the student? Give me a little narrative about what you think's happening, what are you noticing, what are you guessing? Then we took that list, and it was about 70 students that were failing a class after 6 weeks at the high school. And we divided them, myself, our 9th and 10th grade counselor, Allie Engstrom, and our 11th and 12th grade counselor, Samantha Bloom. And we met with those 70 kids individually. And we said, hey student, this is what your teacher said about you failing. What do you think? And so we asked them what the root cause was. We asked them to rate their level of engagement. And we asked them what their level of control is. And here are some of their answers. And it varies just as much as the individual student. I'm not doing that much work or paying attention. I think that I'm participating while I admit to be a little bit of a follower of my friend group. I had to take a math test. I had to retake a math test because my grandma has cancer and I'm nervous about the results. So some of it is, yeah, you're right, you got me. And others, that we're revealing this super heavy load that the students carrying in their lives. And we would not have known that if we didn't have the space to talk to them about it. So using all that information, we decided whether or not it's time or it warrants an academic plan. And so that's why we have 3 at the high school, because a lot of this was 9th graders adjusting to the workload of a high school. 10th graders who have to do homework for the first time and they're managing that schedule, right? Juniors who haven't taken a diploma program course yet, so the level of rigor they're still adjusting to. A lot of it was that, and kind of calibrating into their new school year. That leads into our goal for data-backed student support. So we're going to continue to utilize those structures, student achievement plans, the early warning system, the 3, 6, and 9 week grade checks, intervention, brainstorming, and tracking for data review implemented last year. We're going to identify and make relevant improvements for effectiveness and efficiency to ensure every student has every opportunity to earn 60% or more in every class. And the only way that I don't think we could achieve this is if the student continues to make attendance a barrier. If they're not here, we can't help them. But all the other ways, we're going to try to make sure that they have every opportunity to succeed and pass every class at Rockford High School. This is an example, again, hard to read, but it's what our achievement plans look like. We take some raw data, we take their class grades, we identify the barrier and the level of concern. We look at responsive action for our counseling office, and then our responsive action at the classroom level with a guiding document, the Tier 1 guidance, or now it's called observation to intervention. So I'm observing this. What sort of intervention can I put in place in the hopes that it will help the student succeed more in the future? And then any sort of formative and summative work specifics that we can help color the experience. Our QComp site goal, there was some wording in this fall, you know, as the elementary and middle school presented their language. It's my understanding that this is the final wording after a few drafts. 25% of our students testing in some or high-risk fast reading and math will move up 1 risk category or meet or beat their predicted score by 1 or more points by the end of the school year. Let me try to paraphrase that. If I'm a student, and if you look at those risk categories, if I'm a student in high risk or some risk, I am going to rank up to the next lowest level of risk or beat my predicted score, which there's a whole algorithm that FAST has for it, by 1 or more points. In some cases, that predicted score is going to be much higher than the risk category, but they may still be stuck in high risk because of how low they were at the beginning of the year. So I'm excited to try to make the most mileage by kind of branching that goal into 2 different things and saying, we're gonna shoot for the higher out of the 2. And so this is the raw data from our fall testing. There you see a number of students tested, the number in some or high growth, and what the actual number of individual students are that have to level up or beat their predicted score in both reading and math. So we're looking at approximately 21.75 students in reading that we want to try to graduate up to the next level, and about 19 and a half students in math. We of course can't have half a student, so we're gonna try to beat that goal by one more student.
Is that so question about that?
Yeah.
So the 87, so it's the summer high is the SNH, right?
Yeah.
So you wanna get that 87 down to 66, is that
Yes.
the subtraction? Yeah. Okay.
That is the goal.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Dr. Oliver.
Thanks, Shirley. Kathy and Kevin are gonna talk a little more about this. Jamie asked me, or she asked the group a great question his last meeting, the meeting before. What does that mean to increase the score? We had a, certain amount of points and so forth. And so I can't tell you how much digging Kathy and I have done in the last month, along with, we brought Kevin in because we needed some expertise. And so he really knows the data, how it's calculated, how it's measured, how we check on kids. So while this is hopefully making some sense, you'll see a little more of this in the next presentation that's going to be done later on this evening. We're talking about growth on kids and how can we impact them positively and have them grow. And some of them, quite honestly, may not grow out of the category they're in. But if they can grow more than what they're anticipating, which is, I like to call it, and Kevin might say it's a little different, but what's a year's worth of growth for this kid? As an individual, not as a group, because I don't think any parent cares about how the group's doing. They care about how's their kid doing. So that's what we're talking about now is, if Beth is supposed to grow 5 points, and we're gonna say Beth's gonna grow at least 5 points, hopefully more, that's what we're doing. For some kids it might be 3 points. For some kids it might be 20 points. But we're gonna measure by kid. And I'm really proud of the work that has been going on in the last month. And I'm thankful to Jamie's question. If you remember that question, it was important and it really caused us to think and reflect and to refine what we're doing. So I wanted to point that out.
This concludes my report.
Any questions for Mr. Menard? Thank you very much for your time and all your efforts.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for your leadership.
All right, moving on. Skipping 7. Excellent. Not doing a healthy and supportive environment this time around, but we're going to go right to number 8 with the stewardship of resources. And we are joined by Bridget Peterson. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you and good evening. I'm here this evening to present to you our quarterly budget update as of September 30th, 2025. Up on the screen you have this evening the revenue and expenditure summary by fund. So remember Rockford Area Schools operates multiple funds. I've highlighted for you the most important funds, leaving out only a couple that are, well, again, not considered operating, we'll call them that. So in front of you, you have the FY24 revised budget as well as the 24-25 fiscal year to date activity, and then a column of where we were last year at this exact same time, followed by what is our budget this year and how are we doing so far this year. So a couple highlights that I want to highlight for you guys this evening. You have revenues, of course, on the top, expenses down below. Overall, you can see total revenues last year at this time were about 13.1% collected. And this year at about 11.9. Honesty here, full transparency. Bridget was still working in 24-25 on developing procedures and different methods for how I want to better account for Rockford's revenue and expenses. So what I did not do last year was reverse some revenues that we had during our audit. However, every month I'm getting that much better. And so you can see this year we're at 11.9% total revenues collected in all of our funds. When you look at them from an individual fund level, you can see the biggest one that jumps out there is the construction fund. It's masking some of this, but all in all, on all funds, we're very, very comparable. And so I plan to be that better accountant every year going forward. I'm reversing some different accounting accruals and various things to update you guys with the most timely and up-to-date information. But again, was not that concerned about where we were last year. because most of our revenues were collected. So, right on track, I guess I would say, with where we were last year for revenue collection. Reminder, these are always timing issues when I do bring you guys these quarterly reports. So some months we might collect, something in September, where the next year we might collect it in October. So again, I'm looking for those big things that are jumping out, and like I said, as you can see, there's nothing alarming there. Moving into the general fund, happy to report that those expenses are trending about 1% or 2% lower than where we were at this time last year. Again, I have no reversals to do there, that's just straight cash in and out there. So we are trending lower than where we were last year. Moving into some of the details, I have a lot of details here for you guys to look at, and a lot of this information I've already analyzed and made many notes for things that I need to bring budget amendments forward to you on the next quarterly report, which will be in January, because you can see some of these revenue lines are a little higher, some are a little lower, and so look for that information to come. This is very early in the year, you guys. September is super early, primarily as it relates, as you can see here on the expenditure side. And why is that? We realistically only have 1 month, the month of September, of payroll activity. So it starts to flatten as we move along in the calendar and all of those things. So I definitely get a much better picture of the district as we move into more payroll heavy months. That's not to say our teachers do not get paid in the months of July and August, but remember, those expenses are on the prior school year, not in this current fiscal year. So, again here, nothing's jumping out at me on a fund level. Where I get a lot of the information though is I keep drilling, you guys. So, as we look at our general fund only, and then by program area, you can see here where some of the spend is really fluctuating. And so this tells me I need to complete a budget revision. So nothing to report that is, completely over budget at this time. It's more just categorical moving around of where we're actually spending and where I had the budget. So all in all, I would like to say it's a positive quarterly budget update, as I highlighted to you guys on that summary page, and I have no alarming issues as it relates to where our district is headed into the second quarter, or actually this evening, December nearing. Nothing alarming to report to you.
Excellent. Any questions for Ms. Peterson? No, thank you very much. But you get to stay, and I'm not sure is just yourself or is Mike joining you? Mr. McNulty, thank you. Moving on to EMR Master Agreement for the 25 through 27 school years.
Yes, thank you.
Joining us, Ms. Peterson, and Mr. McNulty to the table too.
All right, so the district and the school board negotiation committee for the teacher EMR negotiations team has reached a tentative agreement for 2 years for the contract period July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2027. Rockford teachers voted in favor of this proposed contract on Monday, November 10th. And so I'd like to take a couple moments to highlight for the members of the board a couple key highlights, I guess I'll call them, of this proposed agreement. So this proposed agreement is within the parameters established by the school board of education, all of you. The salary schedule enhancement increases in year 1 and year 2 were provided. Early childhood and school readiness hourly increases again in year 1 and year 2. We did add career increments for early child and school readiness to our contract. Remember, this used to be in an MOA, so we did add those into the contract this year. Health insurance increase for year 1 and year 2, both starting on January 1 of the respective calendar year. So I'd like to highlight this as a huge win, because this is tends to be an administrative nightmare for us when nobody wants to do retroactive. So remember, this contract did start July 1, and so I really appreciate the union's flexibility, if you will, on agreeing to those increases starting on the calendar years, because our health insurance does run on a calendar year basis. So huge thank you to them for that. Same with respect to dental insurance. There was an increase in both year 1 and year 2, again starting again on January 1 of each respective calendar year. And just to highlight a couple language additions that were added, we did clarify some sick leave. So that's now in separate areas and better clarification on that. We have a lot of leave, and primarily state statute required leave type things. Personal leave pay guidelines were established. We have the Paid Family Medical Leave Act starting in our state, not just for school districts, remember, but all employers January 1 of 2026. So we better clarify that in our contract around what that will look like with respect to this new statute. And then the fun part. So the total cost of this contract is 8.05% increase per MSBA calculations. So remember, that's taking the base year times 2 and dividing. So 8.05 increase per MSBA over the 2-year period, and the district calculation is a 10.29% increase over the 2 years, with a total of almost a $1.2 million increase to the district over those 2 years. Any questions on that?
Any questions? No questions?
Thank you. I'd like to ask the board then for approval of this 2-year agreement contract period from July 1 of 2025 to June 30th of 2027 with Education Minnesota, the Rockford EMR teachers.
Excellent, thank you so much. And I also will throw out some praise for our negotiations team and Dr. Ryder Hoover for participating in this, so thank you all for doing all of that. So this has been presented to you. This is up for action. I would appreciate a motion for the approval of Teacher EMR Master Agreement 2427.
I'd be happy to make that a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. There's a first. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Shadeen. This is an action, and I would prefer
Just wanted to say, you stated 24, 27, I'm sure you meant
25, 27, yeah, there you go, 25 to 27. This is an action, and I would appreciate a roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Jessica Johnson.
Aye.
Kevin Shadeen.
Aye.
Beth Praska.
Aye.
Eric Gordy.
Abstain.
Chris Morgan.
Abstain.
Jamie Hillstrom, aye.
Excellent, thank you very much, and that does carry unanimously with the 2 abstentions. Thank you.
Just a reminder then, I need the board chair, the board clerk, and superintendent after the meeting for signatures.
We can take care of that. Happily. Put some signatures on that. Thank you so much. The next item up for consideration is the superintendent contract approval. We have talked multiple times over the past weeks as a board in closed session, detailing and outlining Dr. Rydell Hoover's contract. His contract is set to expire at the end of this school year, the 25-26 school year. What you have in front of you is the tentative agreement between Dr. Rydell Hoover and the board for an additional 3-year contract. This was provided for your review previously as well. The substantive changes inside of here, you will notice the salary structures for the year 1 and year 2 have been laid in there, which are similar to what the teachers union had negotiated as well. The overall total compensation package is much less than what was over those 2 years. Year 3 will still be a negotiated salary into year 3, so that will be up for board review prior to that school year starting. The other substantive change inside of here is if you look at vacation, you will notice that secular references have been removed for dates, as well as Juneteenth added as that holiday time. Inside of there also Good Friday, if the district office is open or closed, that holiday reference has been removed from contract, so the contracted holiday days do remain the same. The other change inside of here is change in language to continuation of health care and health coverages to be a vesting option that Dr. Rydell Hoover would be able to receive a 10% per year vesting option for continuation of health care upon his retirement from the district. Puts better protections in place not only for Dr. Rydell Hoover for continuing, but also for the district to allow there to be a vesting option up to 100% with 10 years of service. So, this is presented to you. Any questions? Excellent. I would appreciate a motion then to approve the 3-year contract for Dr. Reidhuber.
Motion to approve the contract?
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. There's a first. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Praska. There's a first and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor then signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And this 3-year contract does carry unanimously. Thank you very much, Dr. Reidhuber. You're stuck with us for 3 more years.
Yep. My pleasure. May I just say something?
Yes, sir.
You know, I just want to say thank you. It's not so much about the contract, just about who you guys are. I love it here. And, it's reinforced every day, and even more so over the last couple of months. I'm thankful to be a part of this school district, to work with the wonderful people that I work with, and I'm excited to tackle another 3 years and hopefully well beyond that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, then moving on, we will move to number 9, Culture of Collective Purposes with the CRA&I report. So I would guess we're going to have someone besides Dr. Riley, or do you have guests? Just you? All right, Dr. Reidhuber, it's all you.
Yeah, as I handle a couple different roles within the system, one of which is working alongside my colleagues in the Learning Innovation Department. And I'm going to walk through this particular report, which was once upon a time commonly referred to as the World's Best Workforce. It is now titled, and it has been for, this is the 2nd year, the Comprehensive Achievement in Civic Readiness, or affectionately CANCR. This was presented to the Curriculum Instruction and Assessment Committee, of which I forgot to give Erica an invitation last week, but that was November the 20th. But we had Beth and Jamie there representing the board, and it was another really good meeting. So I'm going to talk about what it is and then share a little bit about the findings as well as we set goals, reflect on last year's goals, and then talk about the goals set this year. This is the statute that requires this conversation and the report itself to be posted online and shared with our board and community and curriculum instruction assessment group. So you'll see this is going on in every school district throughout the state of Minnesota. We do also ask our curriculum instruction assessment team to please advise and review plans, and I really want to share those meetings have been fantastic the last couple of years, and I'm really excited for that group, and we actually gave them work and homework as we progress forward. Again, this was once considered the world's best workforce, and these are the goal areas. You'll see that there are a total of 5. I'll share a little bit about them as we go through this. All children being ready for school. This goal was met again this year, and this goal, by the way, is getting harder to meet. The reason it's getting harder to meet is because the work that's happening at our early childhood level has been so good that the data is getting high, and it's hard to keep up with those numbers. And I'm very proud about the work that's happening there. We heard a little bit about our leadership there today. The second one is the one goal where we have not been making progress to date, and there are reasons for it. And I'm not going to make any excuses, but we have not yet done what we need to do in terms of closing those achievement gaps between what is commonly referred to in statute as our BIPOC students. So I think there'll probably be some conversation with respect to that later on this evening with Kathy and Kevin talking about our demographics. But one thing I'll share is we are 9% multilingual learners here in the system. No excuses. We're going to teach them up as well as we teach everybody else up, and hopefully even better at times. But that is an area of which we need to continue to focus. All students ready for college and career. You've heard Mr. Menard here. We've met that goal again this year. That is also becoming a little more challenging to attain because those numbers are quite high. And then all students graduate from high school. I want to point this one out in particular. Our graduation rate this year is going to come in at 94.6. It's actually 100%. The reason it's not listed as 100% in the report is because when students are choosing to go to a transition program for special education, we cannot give them their diploma and have the state still continue to provide funds for their instruction, of which now goes through age 22. So we withhold their diploma, until they're ready to come forward and receive that at the time of their choosing, but no later than age 22. So it's a weird thing. It is what it is, but that's how it's reported.
So
Um,
how does the state, sorry, it just frustrates me that the state doesn't just, they're not included in that number.
Yeah.
You would include the ones that are able, that are at 22 or whatever it is, like, that's something that maybe
All of that is accurate.
needs to be addressed.
One thing I want to say is the work that we've seen happening at our high school, you know, you saw Principal Menard share those documents with, here's where all the kids are sitting. You know, our number of kids that had to attend summer school this last year was way down. And our number of kids I think that will attend this year will be down even further from the high school credit recovery standpoint, because they are laser focused on these kids already. You know, we're sitting here in November, they know all of the students who are having some struggles in class. Why they're having struggles, they're asking the teachers, they're asking the kids, and a lot of instances they're asking the parents, they're meeting with these kids, and we are going to get them all across the finish line. So that is an area that we're doing well. I'll say the last one is a brand new goal, preparing students to be lifelong learners, and we surveyed our students this year around those areas of which that our curriculum instruction and assessment department has suggested we look at for lifelong learning. I'm going to talk a little about that towards the end of this. But those are the goals. I mean, we did meet all the goals with the exception of the all racial and economic achievement gaps between students are closed. These are the reporting requirements within the contents of the report. Again, that report has been on our website for about a month. And we have to go through district school goals, how we evaluate things, gifted and talented. All of these things are either in policy or in practice somewhere within our district, how we review curriculum, our appraisal process, PD. I'll talk about a few of these things as we go through it. Obviously, we have goals specific to each of our 3 sites, and you see them happening annually and also within this report. Why do we do it? We're measuring the effectiveness of our work as respect to how it's connected to student standards, academic standards, and to inform our curriculum instruction decisions based on these results. How? Use to instructionally plan, utilize interventions, progress monitoring, placement of kids, and to satisfy and check boxes, quite honestly, with state and federal requirements. Sharing a little bit about our MTSS work, of which I'm really proud of what's happening within our system right now with several folks working through an intensive MDE, MTSS process with conferences, seminars, and meetings, and how we're advancing that work. And then statutorily, we need to mention our 2 policies, 513 and 550R, which are around student promotion, retention, and acceleration in early kindergarten. All of this is to guarantee a viable curriculum, aligned to those state standards, and implemented with best practice. Talk about our teachers and our administrators. You heard Mr. Bernard talk a little about the teacher process for evaluation. That's been strengthened. This really is a strong process. If you look at these different components of our teacher evaluation model, you'll notice student engagement, again, towards the bottom has become a really significant focus for us. That came out of teacher conversation, but also that student growth component as well. Principal evaluation, I think I mentioned last meeting that I finished the goal setting meetings with all 3 of our school principals. The thing that I really love about this is that our alignment corresponds with our work on our strategic plan, our DOP goals, and the work that's happening is within our principal unit has been significant. In particular, again, you're going to hear more, and I've alluded to this a couple of times, because I'm actually really excited about this next report coming forward with Kathy and Kevin about what we're doing in learning innovation across our system right now. Again, there's our curriculum advisory committee, our teacher leadership components, of which are significant. This is something that I've had actually several conversations recently about how valued and lifted our teachers feel within our system. When we first came into, when I first introduced Built and Bolt into our system, I think there was some hope, but also I think there was some trepidation around, are we actually gonna have a say in the work that we're doing here? I had a conversation with our two AMR co-presidents today about this, just a little bit, and understanding the value of asking our practitioners whose boots are on the ground how this manifests itself in practice. We're having teachers come up with things and ideas now that are absolutely incredible, and I don't think they were ever asked before. And so I'm really pleased with that, and ideas that have challenged me as a leader to say, yes, we should try that. And I'll say this, not every idea that I'll have, or Kathy, or Kevin, or our principals, or our Bill are gonna work. But that's continuous improvement and innovation, and that stuff is happening all throughout our system right now, and I'm very proud of that. And then again, that comes out in our professional development, which again is aligned directly to our instructional roadmap that is developed annually within our system. Again, this is that committee that got together here last Thursday. And this is their work. And I know you guys are you're sitting through a lot of presentations, so please stop me if I'm going too fast. Again, our building leadership, I've mentioned this before. And the continuous improvement process. Professional development, teacher improvement is people improvement. And if we all get better, then collectively we are stronger. I say this frequently with our teaching staff, and I just said this when I met with Kathy and I learned at our rounds. We're only as good as we are together and collectively. And so working together to grow, if we can grow each other individually, we grow our group. And so that's pretty exciting, and it's fun to see. We're looking at data in a totally different way and how we're using research-based strategies. And we're assisting our teachers with the technology and the things that they need to be successful. And these are just definitions that we have to put forward with respect to our staff, and I don't like these terms, but they are terms that are used, and these come up through the STAR report. So what does it mean to be defined as an ineffective teacher, an inexperienced teacher, an out-of-field teacher? All those things are defined within the Every Student Succeeds Act. This is how we spend our money on PD. So it's, we have a 2% set aside by state statute, but we also have QComp, which thankfully is still part of our state budget, and it is a significant part of ours. I'm really proud of how we are managing these funds and providing our teachers with what they need to be successful. I also want to point out how thankful our staff is to this school board for valuing professional development. It's seen in our calendar, it's seen in the things that they are allowed to do, and in ways in which we're finding success with kids. Again, these are the reporting components, and I want to point out again our school website for annual reporting. These documents, both the ANI and the CACR, are posted on our website underneath Learning Innovation. The community survey, of which we do every other year, we started that last year, and then the data-informed practices model. So again, next steps, we reviewed those goals that were met or not met for this year. We've set goals that are very similar for this particular school year, and we're monitoring those things as we go. We will continue to survey grades 4, 8, and 12 as they matriculate either out of our system via graduation or to the next school that they're going to be moving towards. And then the community feedback survey that will take place again here in 2026. This is what that report looks like. You also have that online, both in the board book and on our website today. I want to talk about this, profile of a graduate. This is one of our DOP goals. You probably saw it last year a little bit as it came across in that area. The reason we are talking about this is because currently right now the only public-facing way in which folks evaluate how we're doing as a school district is through the MCA scores. And while we take them very seriously and we have work to do in those areas, again, not running from anything, it is not the only way in which our work and particularly our kids should be defined. And so we are looking at these. These were those things that were identified as lifelong learning skills last year. We will be working to do a better job of defining these things, perhaps editing them, adding, modifying what they look like. But we're going to be doing some work around this to really ask our community and our stakeholders, what does it mean to be a graduate of Rockford Area Schools? What are you getting when somebody walks out of these doors with a diploma? One thing that Mr. Bernard has always said is, what is the purpose of what we do? It's to be employed. And whether that is to be employed via trade, whether that's to be employed serving our country, and or if it's to be moving on to another form of education post-secondary wise, where you're going to then be employed after that, what does it look like? And so this is work we're going to be doing to define what it means to be a graduate and a lifelong learner of Rockford Area Schools. So excited about this work. It is in process, and we're looking forward to continuing this along the way. Any questions with respect to this particular report, what it is, how we've done, any things of that nature?
Excellent. Thank you very much. And again, this document has been out for quite some time on the website. I think at the last meeting, Dr. Ida Hoover, you did share with us that it was published. So appreciate that. Any questions for Dr. Ida Hoover? Excellent. Thank you very much. We'll continue to move on then. Just making sure, no actions or anything like that. Okay, just heading.
Actually, I apologize. I think we do have to approve this
Okay.
at board level.
I was just looking at the cover sheet. It wasn't.
Yeah, I believe we do have to approve this as
This is quite okay. So you have seen this presentation now, and I would appreciate a motion to approve the Comprehensive Achievement and Civic Readiness Strategic Plan for the 25-6 school year.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Eric Gordy will second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that does carry unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving on to 9B, Learning and Innovation Report, and very sneakily sliding into the table, we do have Kathy Matson and Kevin Neff. Sorry.
It's 8 o'clock. Okay.
I'm reading.
A lot of
not on
reports
there.
today. A lot of reports today.
And I'm not looking up. Sorry, Kevin. Very good. I yield to y'all.
Thank you for having us. Yes, I'm really glad to be here. I have increased time in this role this year. I'm teaching an intro to ed class. I had a teacher at the elementary school stop me and say, "You speak with so much passion, and it's so clear that you care so much about Rockford." And it was really reinforcing as I'm going through this transition out of the classroom. And I'm so energized by this work and the team I get to do it with. And Kevin is one of those people, and he's a fantastic teammate in the Department of Learning and Innovation. He has a wealth of systemic knowledge, and he's a data expert, so I'm super glad he agreed to join me and have a late night. We both are like normally rolling into the sleep mode at this point. So I want to share with you first our roadmap. You see this all the time. It feels like everyone's speaking from the same book. That's because we are. We're so well aligned, and every year we're going to have a roadmap, and we're going to build that collaboratively and have a growth mindset about how to achieve those goals and support students and staff in concrete ways. During the Built Institute on August 4th, I asked every single Built in a team to say one word that drives our work, and they all said students. And they had a couple more prompts, but it was without hesitation the word they came up with. And you feel that in our systems. And that really energized me for the work. And our work shows that focus and alignment. I continue to publish a newsletter related to all of our built work in each system, each building, so that everyone in our system can see the work we're doing And of course, they're always welcome to have conversations with us as well. Thanks to our clear purpose and a clear process, we can work through our goals. I've realized there's another P, and that is people. That really is what it's all about. That's the only way all of this happens, and it's what the whole process is for, is the students and the teachers. Part of what we do for teachers is that professional development, so I wanted to highlight some of what we've done so far this year. This is how teachers rated our workshop week effectiveness. Each year, I look at this with the builds and we look at whether we're getting stronger or if there are things we need to strengthen. And this rating is really quite strong, and I make sure teachers see that as well. Because if you're on that side to the left, we want to figure out how to serve you just as much as we want to serve those who are on the right side and make sure we're meeting teacher needs. I always like to bring teacher's voice to you. Teachers see that workshop week keeps getting better. We're trying to deliver material in new ways and make sure that they see the purpose and the intention behind our planning. And we always welcome suggestions for how to make it better. We've had 2 PD days so far, and we have teachers rate those PD activities. Those activities were rated over 4.0 on a 5-point scale. And we're grateful for the PD to come in planning next steps for meeting the goals. Those days are really helpful in making sure we can continue the work. Now, here's how we're structuring that work. We have a learning scale that guides the work we're doing so that teachers know where we're aiming to go in each of those roadmap goals. And it's a little different for K-4 than our secondary schools. In our instructional design progress, elementary school is working on implementation of CKLA. I've been in some of those classrooms and seen fantastic lessons happening. We also have the expansion of the ADSYS program there. All of that serving students really well. Middle school and high school, you heard Dr. Reidelhuber and Principal Menard talk about grading practices and relational capacity. We're also implementing IXL to support core instruction and target skills that need more practice, and that's been effective at supporting students in additional achievement. In terms of instructional design, one teacher shared after PD, she was excited to try new ideas, and that's really the goal, is that they leave that PD not just having learned something, but having something that they can actually use and put into practice. As far as the engagement scale, you heard Principal Menard talk about it. This is our learning scale for teachers for that. And since the year began, we modified it so it fits the audience. The one on the right is geared towards the elementary audience. And I had the elementary build help me shape that to be more age appropriate. And you'll see at the bottom, the learning scale data is where teachers rated themselves out, where they rated themselves, and the goal is to see that number grow between now and the end of the year. Here's one teacher's reflection about engagement and using that data. That engagement data, she feels like it's really going to be helpful for students in terms of making them want to be there and be successful. It really is informing our intervention work and helping us gain new perspectives as teachers and as students too. Data-driven support, here's the learning scale that makes it really clear where we're heading. Even the student achievement plan has evolved as we've put it into practice. We've heard feedback from teachers. It would help if this was a drop-down instead of a fill in the box so that we're consistent in our language. And so we've been making those changes in real time to make it work better for teachers and therefore also for students. You can see the learning scale data there at the bottom as well. We'll have teachers rate themselves beginning of the year, middle, and end. Here's some teacher feedback teachers found it a little daunting at first, and I want to be open about that they felt it was a lot of steps to think about, but then they realized that this was stuff they were already doing, and that they could just have conversation using a common language and format that is empowering us to be more effective. And another teacher shared having that time to wrestle with it allowed them to really work through it, get questions answered, work on an actual product, and just so grateful for the time to do that. Behind the scenes in support of all of this, we have an MTSS team, multi-tiered system of support, training going on. So we're in a 6-part series with reps from every building to look at our system. And that's been really rewarding because we see how the systems we've been putting in place are positioning us well to meet these 5 components of Minnesota MTSS. And we recognize the need to design and deliver each tier of instruction in a way that's effective and recognizes the distinct needs of the students at those different tiers. And then this was mentioned a little bit, our multilingual learners are a part of our focus in student achievement. And I've shared this with teachers that we have over 110 actively enrolled students, and those are the 15 languages represented by those 110 students. And some students at the high school actually made a display that shows where all those languages come from. Because if you're like many teachers, you couldn't have pinned them to a map without a little help. So it is part of our goal to develop a language instruction education plan, and we're collaborating as a team to make sure that we have a clear system for how we support these students and all students, and they're a part of that. Part of how we're measuring the success of all students is through our building goal. And here's how we developed this year's goal. We reviewed data from last year. We generated a draft goal. We reviewed that with BILTS. And then we shared the goal and considered questions. And I think it speaks to the health of our system that we then revised the goal, rather than sticking with one that didn't quite fit what we wanted it to be. And now we're in that study and act stage. So that goal that you've heard from Principal Menard is that adjustment from 5 points to meet or beat their spring predicted score. And that allows us to have a more individual growth focus. And I'm gonna give Kevin the mic to share more about how those predicted scores are generated.
Okay. Yeah, we've tried to get a little bit away from just the straight 5 points, because on that FAST test, depending where that student is at, they may have the ability to grow a lot of points or not as much. So the higher up in that scale, movement is going to be a lot less than if you have someone near the bottom of that scale who's like had a lot more room to grow. Plus, the FAST test is a screener. It's not a content test, so it's screening for risk. So our students who are at the low risk and the on track are really kind of pushing the top end of that as far as being able to get a good score for growth on that. The other part we have to be concerned a little bit about is with our kindergarten and first graders, that the test that uses changes what they get tested on each of the 3 testing windows. So to say growth on kindergarten and first is a lot tougher because they're tested on one set of 3 things in the fall, a different 3 in the winter, and a different 3 in the spring. So we have to kind of be aware of the different grades and what they have. So working with the predicted score, it happens in the fall. They'll take that score, and for the elementary and for the middle school, we're using their START score. So we're comparing that student with other students in the nation that scored the same on that test. So if we had a student in the fall in the reading test in 5th grade who scored in the 10th percent nationwide, their growth expectation in FAST is based on other students in the nation who scored at the 10th percentile. So those are students who have a similar type of growth, they have a similar type of range. So if they can outgrow the other students in that 10%, then they've made more than a full year's progress. That is a very good thing to have happen. I think is that main part for that?
That's perfect, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I
Can
can
I
go on
ask-
for this for a while, I don't
Can I
want
ask
to.
one question? Can I have a clarification? Can I ask a question?
Yes.
And I've heard
Ask.
just different things from different people tonight. It says meet or beat. And one person said beat, because I have concerns if it's meet, because then they're not going to, their achievement won't go up. If we're talking 25% of our students.
The meter beat is across the whole group. So we're including like some of the students that might have, say, a low risk.
Right, and I understand that,
Yeah.
if they meet their growth,
Yeah.
they're, if they're already 95th
Right.
percentile, they're safe. But if we're talking 25% of our students, 25% should meet already, that's kind of where we're at. So we're not really adding much rigor if we say 25% will meet. I like the beat. The meat part I have concerns with, because if we're talking 25%, that's already where we are.
I think what we're trying to also do is have this be that first year.
Mhm.
So get a base, looking at this and say, hey, how did our students do from fall to spring this year? So that we have an idea going into next year that what would be a reasonable way to phrase this. Because we haven't looked at that kind of data. And so we want to we pull the data for these kids so we can kind of measure it for this year. So that's kind of one reason why there's two different sets of goals in there. Is just that we can kind of say, okay, without knowing exactly what we've done in the past for this, let's do it this year, and then we might be able to say, okay, we should be able to do, a different number going forward.
But we've collected FAST data for 10 years, so
But we
couldn't
don't have the growth data for each student recorded, and that's something.
FAST should have that.
It has it limited for looking back in past history. So it's kind of how it goes in that pool that you have that year. So when we go back, it's been kind of difficult to get that kind of data. So we're trying to pull that out. We just don't feel comfortable with that data we've been looking at for growth from the prior years. The screening scores are real easy to pull from prior years. The longitudinal screening scores are real easy. That growth one, it's awkward to pull that one out without going into like the raw data and try to build your own spreadsheet to get that.
Sure.
Dr. Eichelhofer, thank you.
One of the things we're also doing is we're making sure that our teachers and our kids see these scores. So that they know where they're at, where they're being measured, and then also how we're drilling down to specific strands within these scores to say, here's how we're going to improve in this area, so it'll inform our teaching practice. So, there's the goals, there's the metrics, and then there's the teaching. And so, this is gonna allow us to really drill down to the instruction. And, I hear what you're saying, I understand what that, meeting a goal is great, but, and it depends on who the kid is. If you're a high functioning, proficient reader, meeting your goal is probably just great.
I
But-
100%
But if you're not, meeting your goal is treading water. So, that point noted, we are looking to, really blow these scores out of the water with each of our kids. That's the goal.
Well, that was my only concern, because I feel like already with the data that I see, we're already at meeting 25%. So this isn't, and I appreciate all the work, and I'm on the same page with all of you at this data talk, so I get what you're saying, I just don't know fast. That was my only thing, is that one person said 1 point above, so I just want a clarification on that.
Yeah, and one thing I'll share with you here is that as I've done a bunch of deep diving on this, the FAST metrics are similar in a lot of respects to what you see from a RIT score from an FEA.
I figured they better be, or they won't be very competitive.
Right.
Thank you for explaining.
Do keep in mind that this is one measure of student achievement, and there are a lot of factors that affect how they do. And we're exploring everything such as what is the right number of assessments within a year, screenings within a year? Do we maintain especially the winter screening at the secondary level in particular? And Kevin has some graphs he can share with you that also speak to the reality of student growth.
Okay, what we have up here on these two graphs are some actual student graphs with all the, identifying data stripped out. These are both showing what we probably would be like to see happening with our students. The scores there are going to be, it's fall, no, I'm sorry, it's the one on the very far left is spring of 2024. The second one over is going to be fall of last year, winter of last year, spring of last 2025, and then that one on the very right would be this past fall's score. These are both for, I think they're both for reading. And they're both middle school students. Both of these would be showing what we'd be like to have happening for our students. They are going up, and if you take a look at that growth over that course of the spring to spring, they have made more than a year's worth of growth. They have not broken through to that next risk level. But both of those have made more than a year's worth of growth, and they're probably getting close. That's one of the reasons we've had a lot of discussion about the growth as opposed to going to a risk level. Because one of the things that we have to be concerned about with changing risk levels is teachers focusing on the bubble kids. And some of these students here who had a long ways to go maybe would not have that focus to make that kind of growth. So I think this discussion on the goals will probably continue for the whole year, is how to find that balance and try to come up with what a good way to schedule that for next year would be. We don't want to ignore these kids. And the teachers who have done the work for these two students have done an amazing job to move them up. Even though that top student is still in high risk, that student is almost to the point of being in some risk, which is a huge increase for that student's ability.
Thank you. One of the things I like about looking at this as an individual student and growth is that it values not just those bubble kids where it says, hey, if we can get these kids over the hump, we'll get our goal. There isn't a parent in the district that would say, well, I hope you get your goal. They're saying, I want my kid to learn. And so whether that kid is on the top of the top, or if they're one of the kids who's new to country and is struggling, we want them all to grow at least as much or more than 1 year. And so if we can string a few of those years together from a kid who's in these situations, pretty soon they break through. But I want our teachers to not feel defeated if a student, for example, in one of these cases, is growing more than that 1 year, but hasn't broken through that level yet, because they're still doing great work with kids. And that's why we've spent a lot of time, and I mean a lot of time, basically holed up in Kathy's office talking about how we really want to look at this data. And I gotta say this, one of the things I'm proud of this group, when I talk about the board, is asking these questions. And some of them I know we get in the weeds, so some of them maybe are better for you to call me later, but I think it's really important that we're talking about this stuff, and I don't think it's ever been pulled apart at a board level before. And some of we're asking for that in some respects. Maybe not to go super deep in the weeds, because we have some experts in here on this board that most boards maybe don't have. But it's important to us that we're talking about this, because we want to utilize our data to inform our practice. And so it's been really helpful, because I think it was, I don't know if it's the last board meeting or the board meeting prior, where this really came out, and that's what really got us to get together and collaborate to say, what do we want to do in this next iteration? So I want to thank the board for that part.
Well, and I appreciate it because earlier we talked about the gap we have with some of our at-risk students. When you look at growth like this, you're helping those students too. Versus before, well, they're whatever. So this doesn't let you say that anymore, because they deserve the growth also. So I commend you for shifting to this. because then all students matter. I mean, all students always matter, but we know in past practice how things were done. Yeah.
I'm just gonna add one last thing on that last bullet there, is that we need to realize that this is also just a single test, and you can have a lot of variables affect the achievement. We don't know if someone at home is dealing with some cancer in the family or something else, and that could affect the test score. So we have to work with the fact that we will see dips for different students at different times.
Absolutely. And ultimately, any type of data we're talking about, whether the building goal or any of our other roadmap goals, the purpose is student achievement and growth. So how are we using that data to then create interventions that we implement effectively so that they achieve and grow? And have we equipped teachers with the tools they need to monitor progress and the curriculum supports and professional development that allow them to know where to turn next if they're not reaching a student yet. So Kevin has been supporting the process for progress monitoring.
So over the past few years, we started having more and more groups progress monitor their students especially during intervention. The access groups have been doing it for quite a time, especially at the elementary, middle school, high school, the last couple of years. I know that Kristen's in here, and she's been doing her access group. And then over the past month or so, I've had some of the SPED teachers talking to me the first time about doing that progress monitoring with their students. So I've met with 3 different SPED teachers over the past month, helping them set up their progress monitoring as well. Normally we start with FAST. FAST doesn't always work for every type of progress monitoring, but it's usually kind of our first step. And then once those teachers are more comfortable, they may find a different tool they want to use for their progress monitoring.
I recently read a book called The Culture Code. There were many quotes I could bring to you, but this was one that really stuck with me, saying that culture is a set of living relationships working toward a shared goal. We definitely have that. It's not something you are, it's something you do, and we are doing it. We are working with purpose and a clear process and product, and there is such energy behind the work we're doing, and there's alignment. I do little dances when I'm meeting with the principals and the builds because I see the connections, and I know we can build on that, and it's consistent. We're speaking the same language, and that's what's empowering us to make change for students and support staff in the process. Questions?
Any questions? Yes,
I
Jamie?
just have a quick comment. Thank you for all your data and for the hard work of changing that one goal. And also the little happy dance you do with the alignment. I'm doing the same dance. It's great to see through the different presentations, all of the stuff lining up. And we're truly all moving in the same direction towards the same goal. It's great. Thank you.
So I want to see the happy dance. I want the little short clip that he talked about earlier. See?
Kevin was doing it at the foundation.
I think I saw
Any other questions or comments for Learning and Innovation Group? Appreciate your time. Thank you guys for coming tonight and sharing the good things that are happening.
Thanks
for
staying
up. Yes.
Thanks. Sorry.
All right, moving on then to 9CMSBA policy update, final read. Many of them here.
So many.
Yep, but majority are MSBA model policies, only a couple R's inside of there, the 503, 534, 707 as well. So, any news from the policy committee on these, or are you all good? All good. All right, so I'd appreciate a motion to approve the slate of policies in front of us.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. There's a first. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Hillstrom. There's a first and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That does carry unanimously. Community and partnership. In front of you, resolution of acknowledgements of contributions. Dr. Reidelhuber.
Once again, on behalf of the Board of Education, school administration, and all of our staff, I would like to thank all of those who donated either financially and or with resources to our school district over the last month. And I know there was this one
All right, excellent, thank you very much. And as this is a resolution, Madam, or let's get a motion first. So I'll make a motion to approve. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. First and a second, this is a resolution, so Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Eric Gordy,
Aye.
Chris Morgan,
Aye.
Jamie Hillstrom, I abstain, Jessica Johnson,
Hi.
Beth Praska,
Aye.
Kevin Chitty.
Aye.
Excellent, thank you so much. That does carry unanimously. Letter 10B, Policy Committee meeting Monday, December 1st, 2025, 4 p.m. in the District Office Conference Room. Regular meeting of the Board of Ed, Monday, December 15, 2025, 5:30 in the District Office Boardroom. I do wish to note that our first week of December work session has been canceled. So there will not be a work session for December and just the regular Ed Board meeting. Board and committee updates, opportunity for the board to share what the work they've done. So anyone willing? Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
All right, so for Masico, I had 2 meetings for negotiations for their teacher group. I've had 1 meeting so far to prep for our meeting with the supervisor group for negotiations there. Had regular meeting for Masico as well. And then a handful of Rockford negotiation meetings that we've had. I did go door knocking on the 1st of November, I believe, and saw other board members there, and Dr. Reinhover was there. That was great, and had some really good positive feedback for doing that. We had our canvassing meeting, board prep call, have had chamber, was at chamber meeting, MREA conference last Sunday to last Tuesday. It was a great conference. I apologize, I had my bag next to my bag and forgot to grab it. Would love to share more, all my stuff is in there, so maybe next meeting I'll be able to share a little more about that. And I did attend the High School Musical Friday night, which was a pretty great production. It was very fun. Packed house. It was incredible.
Excellent, thank you so much. Any questions for Ms. Johnson? Mr. Morgan, any updates?
I also went to the plant. It was great. I only went once though. And the Ed Foundation was great. Lots of activity around the referendum, and I'm very happy just with the community. It's good to have the support for the school and the district. And good discussion today, just on the finance front around some more long-term facilities items. But that's it.
Excellent, thank you very much. Ms. Hillstrom?
I also attended the MREA conference, had some negotiations meetings, the curriculum advisory committee, the canvassing board meeting, the chamber. We had an early retirement meeting after the chamber, me and Jessica. And I virtually attended a staff meeting, which didn't work very well. So at the MREA, I re-went to that presentation to help me understand some of the things that they were changing with how they want to talk to legislatures about equity and funding. So.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Ms. Preston?
So just for those of you that went, was it as good as last year? Like, we should keep, yeah?
I liked last year better. It was still really good.
Good, okay. Nice to know. Sorry I couldn't make it.
My 2 cents.
All right, I also attended the curriculum advisory meeting last week and the Northwest Suburban Integration School District meeting last week. And don't really have anything to share about, I mean, you saw the presentation already again. And
Perfect, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Shadeen?
MREA conference was interesting. It was good to see. Went to a cybersecurity breakout session and some cultural attunement, which I thought was pretty interesting. And negotiations meetings. The Ed Foundation Gala was always a great time. It was always great to see the support from everybody, the community, and have a good time with everybody. So,
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Shadeen. Again, participated with Mr. Morgan this morning about possible facilities opportunities for the district with Dr. Rydell Hoover and Ehlers. A couple back and forths during superintendent contract negotiations, not only with Dr. Rydell Hoover, Mr. Morgan, as well as Bridget Peterson, our CFO, to make sure things are in place. Had a prep and planning meeting with Northwest Suburban for the opportunity for the board meeting that Ms. Presco was able, Dr. Presco was able to fill in for me at that. Was also able to see some of our fine staff members staffing the vote at the RCC. Was able to collect vote totals from our referendum and deliver that to our superintendent happily. So those were my updates for that. So, all right. So with that, we are to the hardest thing on the agenda, adjournment. I will make a motion to adjourn. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Hillstrom. First and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of adjournment signify by aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed, and we are adjourned 8:41.